All right, hello teachers. Welcome to this introductory training on teachers' political opinions in the classroom for the state of Florida. So welcome to Nice High School for those of you that are new here. My name is Tyler Jump. I am the principal of the school this year. So this training is kind of an introduction to everyone on political activism in the classroom, just to get you guys some idea of what you can and cannot do, a look at some cases that have happened in our state and are ongoing in our state. So the question is, can teachers display their political opinions in the classroom? Well, based on the case that we're going to discuss, that's kind of unknown to some degree because this case is still pending. Also, there's a new state rule which we're going to take a look at in a few minutes that will kind of answer that question even further for you. So the situation is a teacher in a Florida school district, which I will not name, displayed a Black Lives Matter flag in their classroom. The teacher attempted to make the class a safe space for African American students, particularly African American males, because this teacher was in charge of a program called the EVAC program, which was a leadership course offered by the school which students could get credit for. And the idea was that they learned leadership skills. Some of these students were able to go present at Ivy League institutions. Some of these students were also involved in an after-school altercation with police, which is also a part of this lawsuit. And once again, it was school-sponsored, and the school was actually named after, as many schools in the South are, a Confederate leader. So what happened is there's a first principal and a second principal, so this kind of happens over the course of a few years. 2015 was the first year. So this teacher is sponsoring the club. She's running the class. She's displaying leadership skills or teaching leadership skills for these students, and eventually the second principal, they created new rules that were not applied to other clubs that this teacher was told that she had to follow. So then after, and she did display some, she did push back against this. She did say, filed formal complaints with the district, which were kind of ignored. And then, so she was told that she would need to actually teach this class during her planning period, which is obviously for teachers, that's a big deal. And she is teaching a class that's for credit. So she did go through a formal complaint process about that as well with the district. So in her eyes, in this lawsuit that is pending, these complaints were basically ignored. And eventually her club was removed from the list, and eventually she was removed to a non-instructional position at a warehouse in the district. So right now, and let's move on, there's actually some extra things in here. So it's a pending lawsuit right now in the Middle District of the state of Florida, and the complaints from the teacher are that her Florida civil rights were violated. And so I've put a little excerpt of the Florida Civil Rights Act from 1992 in here for your viewing. Also, her complaint is that the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act was violated as well, and she also claims that her instruction met or passed the Pickering test. So if there's any questions about this lawsuit, I'll be glad to answer them afterwards. So I'm kind of drawing a link, and because this is a pending lawsuit, I will inform all of the teachers and staff about the decision of this lawsuit if it comes this year. But this kind of leads me to something that occurred this school year, this summer before the school year started. So there is now a new rule that is going into effect for 2021, and so it involves required instruction planning and reporting for schools. So it says that teachers may not suppress or distort significant historical events. It also says that, and this mostly applies to social studies teachers, but science teachers and English, any of our required Constitution Day African American History Month, any of this required teaching, these rules do apply to teachers across subject areas. And science teachers, there's an important thing for you all at the bottom of this this education rule in the state of Florida. It says that any students whose parents sign up for a waiver do not have to receive sexual education in our state. So just be aware of that. So the second part says the teaching of critical race theory, meaning and they give us a definition, meaning the theory that racism is not merely the product of prejudice, but that racism is embedded in American society and its legal systems in order to uphold the supremacy of white persons. So that is, and they also go on to say that you cannot use anything from the 1619 Project. And so the next part of this is the most important part, and it's the new rule that really, I think everyone needs to pay attention to. And once again, this is kind of a reaction to this case that is pending, and also it's a reaction to a case, or at least an event from a few years ago, where a high school principal here in the state of Florida did not directly deny the Holocaust, but he did say that he essentially said maybe it didn't happen. And that was a big no-no, obviously, and so the state is addressing that issue, and many educators throughout the state believe that this is a reaction to the case that I stated, that I went over before. So this is important here. So do not share personal views or attempt to indoctrinate or persuade students to a particular point of view that is inconsistent with the next generation Sunshine State standards and the benchmarks of excellent student thinking standards. So basically it is saying you must teach to the standards. So I know a lot of teachers might be stressing right now, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to teach about African American history if we are being told that we cannot say that racism is embedded in American society and its legal systems. It is actually in your standards that you teach about Jim Crow laws. It is actually in your standards that you teach about African American history, slavery included, and that is in the Florida state statutes for education. So basically, teachers, what I'm telling you is this is a rule that we must follow, but the one thing that you need to worry about is just teach to your standards, and you have nothing to worry about. And I've cited the statutes that are pertaining to this, which is the required instruction for the Constitution and Declaration, required teaching on the Holocaust, and then Chapter 1003 has a couple more required instruction things in there for you guys to view, which I can link in a future email. So this is our Governor DeSantis. I'm not going to play this video. We're kind of running out of time, but it's something that he said over summer, and there's a couple of other interviews with the school board if you're interested in their justification for this new rule and their thoughts on, kind of why they did it. So reviewing some court cases, and this is going to be our action plan for teachers. How do you avoid any kind of disciplinary action? Okay, well, I want you to be aware of these court cases involving teachers' rights in the classroom. So number one is the Pickering v. Board. So the interest of the school administration in limiting teachers' opportunities to contribute to public debate is now significantly greater than its interest in limiting a similar contribution by any member of the general public. Okay. Make sure your instruction passes the Pickering test. Okay, that's one way to at least double check what you're instructing if you feel that it may lead to disciplinary action. Okay, there's these other two court cases here, which we're kind of running out of time on reading them, but you need to be aware of these. I highly suggest that you go look at these and at least be aware of what they say. And in Garcetti Ceballos, okay, that court case was actually cited in Brown v. Chicago Board. So the Chicago Board one was interesting. That's where a teacher used the N-word in a lecture, but it was, I believe the teacher was reading a primary source, but yet his First Amendment speech was not protected in that either. So just some goals for us in order to avoid any disciplinary action and make sure we're following the state statutes, make sure that we are, looking at past legislation to make sure that we are following what has been already decided upon in court as far as what teachers can instruct. Number one, review our state standards. That is the one thing that you need to do. Also, if you are confused about something, or you think, hey, maybe this could be indoctrination, or maybe one person could interpret this as indoctrination, please run that instruction by your department head, either me or an assistant principal that's assigned to you. If you feel uncomfortable about anything that you're teaching, once again, get a second opinion on it. That's totally fine. We will help you out. You can also contact your county level coach, okay? And I have the contact information for those individuals for you in a future email. So then also, please review these links. This is the Florida Statutes of Education, and then also, like I said, that new school board rule. And then that is the end of my PowerPoint, but the last thing is, teachers, when that court case decision comes out, I will let you know and update you on how you need to adjust to avoid any kind of disciplinary action and follow our state's statutes, rules, and expectations as far as the Department of Education is concerned. So thank you so much for your time this evening. If you need anything from me, please let me know, and I will try to address it as soon as I can.